So I'm not a fan of the equity argument. Now, I tell people all the time, not everybody starts the race in life at the same point. Yeah, not
we
everybody
both
starts,
didn't.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Right.
But look what we've accomplished in our lives. Why? Because I know for me, my greatest motivator was I didn't turn into the piece of shit that my father is, and I didn't stay a lower socioeconomic individual. I didn't want to live in domestic violence. There's a reason why I'm still single at 41, right? I made decisions in my life. Not that I didn't want to get married or have kids no, but my focus was making sure that I didn't end up where I started in life.
All right. So we're rolling now. Welcome to Too Much Sauce, and we got Anthony here. This has been a long time coming, and I know you know because we've had this in like conversation for ages. But it's amazing. Like, I think it's great timing having you here now, because if it was 6 months ago, it would have been different as to now where you are mentally. What's been happening. Yep. There's so much to talk about. I'm so excited. I feel like you're a person who I value and respect your opinion. I think. I mean, people might see it as your opinion is maybe a bit radical or maybe a bit more, straight to the point. But that's exactly what we represent here. It's the truth.
Yep.
It's
all the sauce.
It's the sauce. And you know what? If you see us Too Much Sauce, that's why you tune in. Maybe give it a clip, and then maybe, the whole 2-hour podcast after that.
We're going to get some hot sauce. Don't worry about that.
Maybe next time I'll bring like the full, like, what is it? Hot wings? No, actually, no. I can't be fucked. But yeah, so, I mean, how did you even, just going into your political career, right? Like, how did you start with, and what even led you there, right? Because if people don't know, legislative council, like writing, and I'll put all that stuff on the screen to show exactly like what you were doing. But could you just tell us a bit more about that whole journey and what happened?
Sure.
Yeah.
So effectively, I looked at the state of affairs, not only in Victoria, but in Australia in general. And I sort of looked at things and went, this can't be as good as it gets. Because the state of affairs is not limited to Australia either, or Victoria. If you look at Western democracies, they are sliding south, and they are doing so very, very quickly. So I have a big... Can I swear on this?
Oh, fuck yes.
Fuck yes, thank you. I have a big fucking mouth, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem in calling shit out. And I'm not one of those people who calls shit out and then does nothing about it. So I put my money where my mouth was, and I got involved with a political party, that being the Liberal Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So the Lib Dems were the only party during the pandemic who were challenging the government, who were calling things out, who were actually taking a rational, logical, and sensible approach, very centrist approach. In the bedlam of the pandemic and government responses, not only in Australia or Victoria, but across the world, the Liberal Democrats were a very centred, very controlled, very reasonable, rational voice who called out the stupidity that was playing, sort of out in front of us. And I'm a highly rational, highly logical individual. I work in corporate finance, so everything that I do is basically risk mitigation. I could not understand what was going on and how people were just throwing caution to the wind, throw the baby out with the bathwater, all of this sort of insanity over a respiratory virus, which to this date has a mortality rate of less than 1%. For the fact that we went about things in the manner that we did, like, it was pure hysteria. I'm not denying that COVID is not real, or I'm not saying anything of the such. What I'm saying is that it was a completely and utterly disproportional response to a respiratory virus.
Right. And with that, what was it about them? So okay, so they matched your values, right?
Sure.
So, but at the same time, going and actually representing what they stood for, and because people could be like, "Oh, I support them. I'll just hit a follow."
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I can hit a like, or maybe share a post or a story.
Yep.
You know. But what made you actually want to get in there, get in the nitty gritty? You know, get your
Yep.
hands dirty. You know.
Yeah. So, look, I've been centre left my entire life. I grew up
Centre left. What does that mean?
So I'm quite progressive. I work in a conservative industry, obviously with finance. That has become a lot more progressive, or what I would refer to as regressive these days. But yeah, it's a conservative industry in nature. The only thing really conservative about me is probably my fiscal policy.
Okay.
You know, I'm conservative with money just because I grew up in a lower socioeconomic family. I grew up in a generational domestic violence household. It was, you know, generational. My grandmother, you know, suffered at the hands of my grandfather. You then saw my mother, same sort of thing. Both, you know, my grandmother raised 5 children on a worker's wage. You know, she was a cleaner. Her last job was at Invicta Carpets back in the day.
Goddamn.
Yeah, correct. And she was like the tea lady, yeah, the cleaner. She would clean, she would take away tea and coffee and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And then my mother, who, you know, got married very early, 18, all that sort of thing, had 2 children, myself and my sister. My father would discipline her, so to speak, you know. And there was no rhyme or reason. He's on record as saying, sometimes every 6 months, even if things are going good, I just have to let her know. Yeah. So that's what I sort of grew up in. Now, I grew up, like I said, was the only male in a house full of women who were abused by men. So growing up, I did not relate very well to men because I was the only male. So, and being European, I'm half Italian, half Maltese, right? Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. You know.
Yeah.
They doted on me hand and foot. And I'm very gentle in nature. Like, I probably didn't really step into my testosterone until I was probably 16-ish, thereabouts, 15, 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, prior to that, I was very timid. I'm an introvert by nature. Like, I turn the extrovert on in order to exist
when
in
necessary.
life.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I grew up and how I grew up. And then through that process, I've obviously always aligned to the left in the sense that I'm very centrist, I'm very open-minded about things, but my mother was a worker. My grandmother was a worker. We grew up lower socioeconomic. My father migrated to Australia from Italy. Funnily enough, he fled fascism with his family to come to this country.
Right. Which is like a full circle.
Which is so popular today, you know, and it's not what the left are telling you that, you know, people are fascists.
It's happening.
Like the left are actual fascists today, like legitimately.
And if you can explain to people who don't know, what does that mean, being a fascist?
Oh, let me go you one better. Hang on. Let's go to the actual definition.
Oh, yeah. And
right.
Make sure it's not Urban Dictionary, right?
No, we've literally just done, just because my PC does a Bing search, don't ask me why, but I've just gone to the search engine of Bing, an authoritarian and nationalistic, and listen to the way they've redone this, right-wing system of government and social organisation.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So they've added the right-wing factor, right? Love that. But it just cracks me up because I'm a libertarian, so I think left and right are toxic as hell, to be perfectly honest with you.
You know what? I'm happy we identify as such, but also the thing is that putting a right-wing thing in there, you automatically know that in someone's mindset, they're going to be like, now it sits into that sort of category,
correct.
Right? I just call them simple people, right?
So most of society.
Most of society, the bots, and not saying that I'm better than society. I mean, we've all been there. It's not.
But everybody likes black and white. It's just easier to deal with.
It's
Nobody wants to play in the area of grey because it's too complex.
It's too complex.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, tell me what's right, tell me what's wrong. I want to follow the rules as to where it should go. And that's why even in history, like you've seen, like not really authoritarianism, but really it is. Even dictatorship or having the empire or like anything like that. People gravitate towards that sort of power.
Yeah.
Once there's like democracy that's given and power to the people give it back. They give the power back.
Yep.
They just from human nature, you can tell that we, it's like hot potatoes. Like, it's too hot.
It's too much responsibility for most people.
Yeah.
You'll find that the one thing that I really love about libertarians is that they're incredibly sort of responsible for themselves and personally accountable. And I've always been that way. So I've always never felt like I fit in. Like even with my family, I always said I'm the black sheep of the family. I don't fit in. I've always been a bit of a loner, a bit of an outcast, all these sorts of things. So, but just to bring it back so I don't miss the point for the listener, an authoritarian and nationalistic system of government and social organisation. Now they've listed right wing on that one. But it is definitely not limited to the right wing because if you look at today, fascism is definitely on the left.
And how do you feel like it fits into the current day at the moment?
I believe it's a concern. I mean, when you've got government working with big tech and you've got government working with big pharma, for instance, and they are working together to push a message, that's incredibly dangerous, let alone the fact that they're using the media to help push that message.
But then is it saying that there's no trust in the government, no trust in big techs, or both, or all?
For me personally, like being a libertarian, I believe that government is part of the problem. I'm not saying that there's not a place for government, but what I'm saying is that small government is the key, and decentralising. So anytime you centralise power, everybody always forgets this, right? It always comes back to how fallible the individual is because we're all corruptible, right? So if
we have a price, we have something, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And most people, they can't handle that level of power. Like power corrupts ultimately, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, I don't believe government is the answer. And people's willingness to trust government, like if you look over the biggest movements throughout history that have exterminated more human life than anything, the one commonality is that they're all governments. Mao, Hitler, like
Stalin.
You want to keep going? You know what I mean? Like literally.
Yeah.
They're all governments.
Yeah.
Whether it's, the Communist Party of China, whether it's, Hitler's Nazi Party, whether it's the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, like the common theme is government and a centralisation of power. These are the common themes that always play out, and everybody just is so willing to dismiss that.
But the thing is that I feel like they're willing to dismiss it. I see it as, getting into the veins, right? It seeps in slowly because I know that if it happened abruptly, people would reject it straight away.
Yep.
So they do it and they microdose you to the point of actual, no, I fuck with the government. This is what I believe in.
Yep.
And because delusion is like one of the strongest, I think, mental whatever it is, like it's something that people hold on to, and I think there's a pride in human nature that being deceived, being the fool is something that a lot of people don't want to accept. So they'd rather just fit in and be like, that will never happen to me. I will never be the fool.
Yep.
You cannot fool me. I know the government's corrupt, but right now the government is actually doing fine. It's like, no, we're all fucked. And it's like, no, we're not, because look at this, look at what they've done for this. And I'm like, that's fine. But again, like even going back to being a libertarian, you understand that your friends, your foes in leadership, right? But also you understand that I feel how I explain to people about how I view being a libertarian is you take the bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Right? You zoom out.
Yep.
You see, this is what's going on. Where do I fit in? On my fucking bedroom, in my bed, very comfortable, and with my own thoughts, right? So you gather data from different things, and then you see where you sit. Yeah. And I feel like that individualism is healthy. Obviously, it could not be, because you could lead yourself down, rabbit holes and echo chambers and all of that.
Yep.
But it's still much healthier than following the sheep or the bots in either direction, right? And we know, like, one of the greatest, like, oldest quotes ever, divide and conquer. That's exactly what it's there to do, right? You get the extremists on one side, the extremists on the other end, and it's kaboom, perfect recipe to divide and conquer, right? So that's just, But going back to, like, the definition that you're giving, I don't feel like I feel like being is fucking up the definition. That maybe I'm just being checked by reality about what the actual definition is, because I'm like, I don't see that as the definition, but maybe that's what it is, and I'm just getting a reality check.
So it's an authoritarian and nationalistic system of government and social organisation, right? So if you look at, like, particularly in Victoria, we'll speak to our experience in Victoria, right? The last 2.5 years, authoritarian is probably an understatement, seeing what we saw and the manner in which democracy was completely and utterly just swept away in the interest of public health. Now, public health is always a concern, but again, what triggered me to there was something wrong in the government's response. So I work obviously in corporate finance. I have a number of colleagues who are, of Chinese ancestry. Some have obviously migrated from China to Australia. They have family over there. They would be showing me WeChat videos of people dropping in the street in China. That was back in January of 2020. So we knew that there was something to be concerned with, right? Now, eventually it came to Australia, like it went to all other parts of the world. I was on the side of caution at the start, right? We don't know enough about this. We don't have enough information. I've seen videos of people dropping in the street. I have a number of former, clients, because I spent 8 years working in medical finance. Number of clients who are now friends, who, I still interact with regularly. They were all saying that this thing would be like Ebola and it would kill 1 in 3 people. So a 33.33% mortality rate. Well, we're almost 3 years into this pandemic at this point, and we know that's not the case. But at the start, we didn't. And it's that simple. We really did not know. So you err on the side of caution while you're getting information. So I was on board with the, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, to prepare the healthcare system. I was on board with all of those concepts. Stay home, do the right thing. Pretty confident I put up some of those stupid emoji things on, like, my Instagram and my socials and that, I was on board. It made sense. And then obviously the presses started, and we obviously shut down the borders and we were doing all these sorts of things, and I'm like, okay, well, I accept that. That's reasonable. That seems rational, right? So I'm on board. Rational, reasonable response, cool. When I started, seeing the presses, because like everybody else, I was tuning into the presses in the morning. Like, we're working from home, So I'm watching these presses, and as I'm watching them, I'm like, okay, the data, infections, this, that, not ideal. And then I would look to reconcile those against the DHHS data, right? So DHHS were putting out their data daily. So I was following, the Twitter account of Department of Human Health Services, following their Facebook, their Insta, their socials, right? Because they're putting out the data, and then going to the website and checking it out, there. By about 3 months in, I thought I had the numbers wrong. Now, keep in mind, I'm a numbers nerd. I work in corporate finance, a bit of a political nerd. I'm watching the presses and then trying to reconcile them against the data that the DHHS are putting out. The data that the DHHS are putting out is what we're getting out of the hospital system, right? Now, it's not reconciling against the measures that we're implementing. So what is being said at the presses and the measures that are being implemented at those presses, I can't reconcile these against the data. So I thought I had something wrong. Now, again, working from home, we were getting an hour of yard time at that point, right? That was it. So what am I going to do? Like, I mean, there's only so much I can do. I clocked Netflix in the first 2 weeks, right?
We want shows, more shows.
I'm like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
You know, like, thank God for when they put out that Michael Jordan, like, you know, The Last Dance, because that was brilliant. Like, they had me waiting for that. I'm like, Jordan's the king. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the data, and I thought for the first 3 months, I thought I had something wrong. So at the end of that 3 months, obviously the ABS puts out their data. And this is the Australian Bureau of Statistics. It matched up with the DHHS data. But these are not reconciling against the measures that we're implementing at the presses. So again, I'm thinking I had something wrong. I'm like, I've got something wrong here. I know that this is going to be like Ebola. This is going to kill 1 in 3 people. The data's not showing that. The data's not showing that at all.
So is it that whole 1 in 3 people Ebola, was that just coming from word of mouth that you already knew?
That was coming from medical specialists that I know, who have been either former clients or friends, or, you know, they work in the healthcare system.
Right.
And they're not nurses, and, you know, like, these are specialists.
Yeah. Hey, there's nothing wrong with fucking nurses. Hey,
no, but these are the people who are obviously, like, you know, they're the ones that are on the front line with the nurses and are giving directions on stuff, right?
I think a lot of people from the outside, people who view healthcare, see it as, and I understand there's a hierarchy, right? I understand there's the specialist and there's the specialist bitch, and then there's it's just like shit goes downwards, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the special, and this is just from my experience. This is not in any way, anyways, whatever. Mm-hmm. As much as people say, "Oh, there's a specialist," they know because they've gone to med school, they've done this, they've had to do a PhD or a research project or whatever it is to get into the positions they're in and to get that title. They're not seeing the actual reality.
They're not on the front line.
They're not on the front line.
Yeah. Yeah.
The front line is where the data is at.
Yeah.
Right? So looking at someone who's a specialist, I was like, nigga, like, no, because...
Did you just drop an N-bomb?
Yeah, I did. But I'm like, no, because the people in the front line see it. So whether it's... And I don't want to get fully in the detail of what happened on that end because red tape. But in my experience and what I've seen of that, yes, there was definitely conflicting opinions, and there's definitely even just like I would say a rift, in terms of even frontline workers about what they believe, what they want to do, how far they're going to take it, even till now, right? Yeah. People are like, really? You're still... Really?
Yeah.
Is that like, what's going on, right?
But is that based on what they were seeing and what they were being told, or was that the politicization of a healthcare matter?
No, I don't think it was. I think it's a mix of both.
Yep.
Just because there was what was seen and then what was portrayed, right?
Yep.
So there was a story and the actual story, and because maybe you see, and I'm not saying from what I saw was what every frontline worker saw, but there was definitely the fear because you're seeing a lot of people's narrative, especially as a frontline worker that I saw, was I just saw someone who matches the age of my dad like die or get seriously ill and die, right? Or if you're talking to people in ICU, it's like no. I've seen the people who have chosen to not be, part of the jab or whatever. That I can see them here, right? There's a majority of the people here, right? So, and that's the data that's not skewed, right? It's little data. Those are the patients I'm taking care of, right? So when I was looking at that, I'm like, well, there's truth in that, right? But also there's a part of it that there was a fear of not speaking out as well, right? So again, going back to not really delusion, because that could be insulting to people and colleagues that I know, but there's a certain mindset that you adapt to feel safe. And that was the mindset for this 2 years, was if I went against it, I don't see any benefit. Most people are not libertarians. They don't look at both sides. I know this is happening, but even though I question it, it's the exception, not the rule, right? As to, I'm going to see this and I'm going to question the fuck out of it, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to make sure I seek the truth. No one is a truth seeker. And that's what I've actually realized after post-COVID. No one is a truth seeker. No one wants the truth. People just want what they have to abide by, what's safe, and how the fuck we move on, right? Nothing to do with, I'm going to go and do some more research here, because also now we've seen what happens. You're labeled crazy. You're ostracized.
Ostracized,
Ostracized, part of my French. And you're put in a position in society that most people don't want to be in. Right? Even just looking at humans, people don't survive when they're ostracized. They're usually killed or isolated, and then they die anyways. Right? So that it goes against our brain to want to be in that position.
The desire to be with the pack,
right? We want to be in a pack. So being someone who this is also part of the podcast, is I'm a truth seeker. I like to go and see the truth. And seeing the truth, people are like, whose side are you on? I'm like, mine. Motherfucker, mine. I'm trying to figure it out the same way everyone's trying to figure it out. But then if you don't want to, that's cool. Go and jump off the cliff with all the sheep. There's the sheep who all the sheep who just go and like run off the edge, and they all run off together and follow.
Where the herd goes, and
there's this I think I'll put the clip up because it's actually hilarious. They just all run off and they're like and they die off. I'm like, nah, I've got a question. I'm like, is there a cushion at the bottom? No, there's no cushion. Oh, so we're all dying? Okay, let me just reevaluate where we're going with this. So I guess that's where I stand with it even now. Is I'm very balanced, because the thing is that you can get very angered with people's opinion, or where, seeing someone still going full throttle like it's mid 2020 and you're like, wake up. Like Matrix, like, but that's just where it's at. And if people are like, hey, I don't want to come into contact, or I don't want to, I'm just like, no problem, because right now it's peace. Okay. I just want to have peace. You choose your lifestyle, same as how we've allowed other people, it's not like I'm allowing them, but how we've just, allowed people to do their own thing in life, whether it's lifestyle choices. Now this is a lifestyle choice. You follow that, you do you, boo. Right? And if you're on this side and I don't think it's logical and it's crazy, you do that. I'll be here. If you want to seek the truth, you come here. And if you want to find a balance of thought, come here. Right? I'll question both sides, because I'm like, I'm not on anyone's side. Right? So
No, I get that.
So but then my question is for you now, going through that. What are your views now? Like, where do you stand, especially even with running, right? And how do you view that the past 2 years, and how has that changed you? Do you wish you did anything different? Like,
So I suppose the last 2 years have been very eye-opening for myself, because I've been able to see a lot of things that I know I'd lost a lot of hope for humanity a lot of the time, and then at other points it actually reinstilled my hope for humanity. I know at the moment we're at a very interesting point in society where segregation and division is huge.
It's king.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you look at Daniel Andrews' speech, his victory speech, I didn't watch it at the time. I was actually at the Jordan Peterson
You went?
Yeah.
Right. How was that, by the way?
That was really good. I'll come back to that for a bit.
Sorry.
But it was very good. But yeah, I went to that, so I didn't catch the speech. So I watched his speech the other day. Because the LC are still counting in the Legislative Council right now. So I think they've done 65 or 67% of the vote, somewhere around there, for Western Metro, which is where I ran. So for me, there was never going to be an outcome for my run that night, so I wasn't too fazed about it. I was more concerned with the Mulgrave seat itself. I suspected that the Labor Party were going to form government. Just the information that we were getting within the party, and talking to people, and you get involved in the world. You talk to people in the industry, you get an understanding of different things, you hear different things from different people, and da 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 da. So eventually, you start to form your own opinion of what you're seeing. So I was of the opinion that the Labor Party were going to form government, but Dan was looking like he might actually lose his seat.
And why was that?
Because Dan's brand had become incredibly toxic.
Yeah, so the marketing was trash.
Yeah, not only was the marketing trash, but he wasn't in the electorate. He was not out campaigning.
Well, because was he just scared of the retaliation? Because he created quite a polarization.
Absolutely.
Right. So
absolutely.
Was it just the fear of getting an egg thrown at his forehead?
I don't know. You'd have to talk to him and his campaign manager on that one. But I do know it is not a normal reaction to have a massive police detail follow you everywhere and you not want to turn up at events. There were events where people were literally putting it out on social media. Dan's going to be here for, whatever, as part of the campaign, but not in his electorate, campaigning elsewhere. I think he went to Bendigo or something at one point. I think he was out in the western suburbs at one point. He was supposed to be. Those got cancelled last minute, as in he didn't turn up.
I think there was a fear. It would have been fear of his danger. Like, I think
you're not doing it because you loved, are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest.
But then, okay. How did he win? The things that, please explain to people, because and the reason why I even posed this question to you and I sent it to you was people were complaining on Instagram, right? Yep. I would see people on their stories being like, why do I have to go and vote for state and federal? Why am I always having? Because here it's not like the US.
Compulsory voting, yeah.
Yeah, it's compulsory, or you get fined, right?
Yep.
And I was just tired of replying to people to say no. Yep. If you understand, I don't know if you forgot or you got like amnesia of the last 2 years, but this is actually one of the most important sort of elections, right?
Yeah.
But people don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Especially like these Gen Zs, they're like, me, whatever. Like, why? I'm just gonna vote with who had the coolest ad. I'm like,
welcome to the problem of society today. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always been a policy voter. So I'm not a Liberal or Labor. Like, I'm not conservative. Like I said, I've always sat centre left my entire life, and about 8 years ago I discovered libertarianism, and like even when we would watch like a Black Conservative Perspective together, right? It's not that I am conservative in like I'm the least thing from conservative. I mean, you know me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm the least thing from being conservative. But the Overton window has moved so far, right, that at the moment the conservative argument is probably the more rational of the two.
Okay, so then this also goes back to, I don't know if you saw Elon Musk's. He had this diagram of where like the left and the right is.
Yeah.
Right, and you saw where.
So that's the Overton window. Yeah. So it talks about how society has moved so far. You may not have moved, but because society has moved so far, you are now classified as being right wing. So that's why people, come like I get a whole heap of leftist trolls on social media coming after me, and I think it's so cute. I actually read somebody's.
What is it?
This was a brilliant quote that I read from Jessica Reed Krause.
Okay. You're calling them out. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, she's brilliant. Like
Okay.
she was on point.
Yeah.
So she's a journalist. She lives in like SoCal, so Southern California. Just eclectic individual. But what she wrote was brilliant, and she's like, because I could relate to this entirely. And she's like, I laugh when I'm referred to as dangerous by these spineless internet trolls, people who want to cancel anything that makes them uncomfortable, assuming that a writer must align with its subject's morale and politics, to have a stake in their story. What a depressing turn for young visionaries. When the leftist trolls come for me, I laugh because it's like, you couldn't stand up to me face to face and say some of the things that you're saying online. Like it's comical. I grew up in DV. I was picked on a lot in high school. Like until I took my first proper punch, where I copped it in the face, and I just snapped. I was terrified of violence, like absolutely terrified of it. And then I was off to the races. Like I ended up doing like mixed martial arts for 20 odd years now, right? And, I've trained with some absolute like elite level killers, where you literally get yourself into a position where, you put a foot wrong and you land you cop a punch. It could change your whole dynamic of life going forward, right? Or you're, rolling like BJJ, you're rolling on the mat with somebody, and before you know it, they've synced in a choke, and it's good night, Irene, right? Like,
tap,
you're tapping every day of the week. So when these leftist trolls that come for me on social media, like I call them out. I'm like, oh, how cute. It's like when my nephew calls me a poopy head. It's adorable.
Wait, I think it was last year you're saying you're like, it's funny how I was spag boy, wog, Italian, good for nothing guy, and now I'm a cis white,
gendered
entitled prick who has no idea what's going on. You're like, my experience never changed.
No, it went from one extreme to the other.
Right. And
I used to joke and say that I must have been in the bathroom when the good time happened because I missed it. I came back.
Copping punches or some shit, right?
Getting a dunny roll or something, you know what I mean? Just getting my head flushed down the can.
Yeah, that's... And I was going to, like, now that we're in the conversation of lefties, man, there was this diagram... that I'll put on the screen where it's like, people who are progressive think it's linear.
Progressive's biggest flaw is that they view progress as being linear. To the progressive, progress looks like this. It's an upward straight line. So naturally, when you view progress as a straight linear line, you believe that every step you take is headed in the right direction. Louise Perry said something on Chris Williamson's podcast that struck me. She said that progress is actually more like this. It's a hill, which means that there is a final peak of progress, and if you keep on going, you will start to regress rather than progress. Now, I'm going to be using the LGBT as an example to illustrate why I think what Louise Perry was saying was true. So this is our progress hill, right? And so this is where we started. So where we started, we had very, very traditional conservative values. We believe that all men should be masculine, all girls should be feminine. We believe that everyone should be heterosexual, and if you weren't, we'd give you conversion therapies so that you could unlearn your homosexuality. But with the work of the progressives, society moved to here, where we believed that not all men had to be masculine. In fact, it was okay for some men to be more feminine and to wear makeup. And not all women had to be feminine. In fact, it was okay for some of them to be more masculine and like trucks and sports. We stopped giving gay conversion therapy, and we allowed same-sex attracted people to be together, as well as get married and adopt. Many would say that this would have been the peak of progress. But because progressives view progress as an upward linear line, they can't be satisfied, and they wanted to keep moving forward. And that's exactly what they did. And in the process, they started to take us back down the hill that they helped us to climb, and we began to regress rather than progress. Now the progressives say, if you're a boy who likes pink, glitter, and makeup, then you must really be a girl. And if you're a girl who hates dresses and skirts but likes sports and trucks, then you must really be a boy. Because God forbid you don't adhere to the gender stereotypes that we once upheld when we were down here. They also say that sexuality is nothing more than a bigoted genital preference, which can be unlearned. Which sounds very, very similar to the homophobic rhetoric that we used to say when we were over here. I saw a video of a trans woman saying that if a lesbian is not attracted to penises, then it's likely due to trauma that she needs to work through. Doesn't really sound very progressive in my personal opinion. So essentially the progressives have taken us from here up to here and then all the way back down again, so that we're right back to where we started.
Right. So they think it's going up, but it's actually, the thing is that it's like any sort of trend, right? Even talking about the New World Order, right? They're talking about, oh yeah, like for centuries we've had the Dutch, we've had the German, we've had the French. Like it goes up and it peaks. Everything peaks at some point, right? People think, oh, we peaked when gay marriage was approved and it was amazing, right? Yeah. But because they think it's linear, and I'm not saying that that's the best that we can get. No, I'm not saying that gay marriage is like the peak. Yeah. But I'm just saying a lot of people who look
it
backwards.
was for a lot of homosexuals, you know.
I mean, that was amazing. Sure. That's amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah.
But then you keep going. Their mindset, they keep going straight up and keep going, and because we're in actually one of the most privileged eras ever, right? We have everything. We're like, no, we don't. We're gonna find a problem.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
we're gonna find an issue that we never thought was an issue, but now is an issue, because this is what happens when you're bored and you're privileged, right? You're like, well, I have nothing to fight about. Right? People are like, oh, I'm an activist. I'm like, of what? I'm an activist, though. I'm like, fuck off. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, pick something, like, or get a job, or get a hobby, like, you know, like.
So you're talking about professional activists?
Professional activists.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know some?
No, not anymore.
Some? Okay.
Not anymore.
So you've met some though?
Yeah.
No shit.
We're in the mecca of progressives right now in this suburb.
I understand we're in the heart of commie land. I'm not. I'm not joking. Like on the way here, I drove down Sydney Road to get here, right? So I drove down Sydney Road, and as I'm going down Sydney Road, like Sydney Road has always been incredibly multicultural. Again, you know, lower socioeconomic. Like it reminds me of my upbringing. So I've always felt quite at home.
It's ungentrified. It's getting to the point where it's going to get really gentrified.
Well, and I was driving past, and first of all, I saw Savers is now closed. So that went out of business, I'm assuming. Savers went out of fucking business. That's not promising, first of all.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was boarded up. Then I went past another place that was boarded up. There's graffiti absolutely everywhere. It looks like a third world country. Like it was always very raw, very, you know, sort of migrant. You know, it's like it actually looked like a third world country, like a dilapidated sort of state.
Okay, so things are changing. It's that in between era of where whoever owns an apartment here or a house, they're about to bank in the next 5-10 years, because everything's going to get super gentrified. And I saw that big time in London, where you're like in the middle of Nigeria, little Nigeria, and then you go and there's a rooftop that looks like Brunswick. It's like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Yep. Even like all the small kebab shops, gone.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're bought out. Same thing as Russell's, like where I buy my fruit and veg.
Yep.
They're they've been trying to sell that whole warehouse because it's prime real estate.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what's happening, where they're getting progressive.
Yeah.
They're moving forward.
Well,
and it's
they
funny.
did that to the Sarah Sands, I remember.
Yeah.
Like on the corner.
Yeah.
Because I remember when the Sarah Sands, like back in the day, it was a pub. Like I had an aunt who actually worked at the Sarah Sands when she was in university. You know, and now the Sarah Sands has been turned into a development because I actually looked to buy one of the apartments because I was shopping. I've been, you know, shopping for my next purchase for a little while now. And I was looking at that, and yeah, like, you know, that's different. Like gentrification for progress sake and like development, redevelopment, and all of that. That's different. What I saw is like that's not part of that gentrification piece.
Okay.
That was like a mess. That was a complete not a mess.
But then the thing is that it goes back to the whole progressive talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're progressing, but where are we going? Where are we going? Oh, you know, you can, you know, squatters can. Oh, by the way, speaking of squatters, yo, I got to say this.
Squat the world.
Yo. This is, yo. I was coming from the gym.
Yep.
Right. Now I'm a gym bro.
Yeah. Because you be lifting now.
Like loving that shit. Yeah. Coming from the gym, you know, having my protein shake, walking, la 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 la. And then I saw this abandoned house, right? Because I'm like, this is actually prime house. It's abandoned, very old school, maybe made in the 70s, has that like orange brick sort of situation. Where I'm like, this is gems. Like no one builds brick anymore, right? So it's graffiti, there's pink everywhere, like crazy stuff. This guy was like, oh, no one's living here, hey? He moved in. And I saw him move in, so I'd go to the gym, come back, and I'd see the progress, right?
Yeah.
So I'd go to IGA, come back, see the progress.
Yeah.
He would bring the couch, he brought his bed, he brought everything. He connected the electricity. Like these motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's
next level, right?
That's next level, right?
He was playing music. He was like, he had his little table where he was painting, he was doing a thing. And I'm like, hey, power to you. But at the same time, it's like, who owns this house? Can we buy it, or is it just going to be an eyesore for the next?
Well, that comes down to squatting laws at that point, right?
Oh yeah.
So look, don't quote me on this, but as I understand it, there's a time period where if nobody moves in and moves him out, he will effectively own.
Fuck off.
I'm not joking.
Okay.
So in Sunshine North, next to where I grew up, I know generally the council steps in and moves them along, or the owner of the premises.
And how do they move it? Like by force?
Effectively, yeah.
But
I watched a woman in Sunshine North. I'm not joking. From where I grew up, there was a plot of land, like just grass, right? And it was before you got to the corner of McIntyre Road and Furlong Road, just as you come like over the bridge and you hit that point there. And she set up a caravan there, and then one day there was a deck, and then shortly after she had a veggie patch, and like she'd like moved in, right? And she was there, I reckon, for probably close to 18 months, and we moved somewhere else at the time. Like I think we moved to Maribyrnong at that time, because I've lived all over the West. Like part of the problem growing up the way I did, we moved every 12 months. But yeah, we moved to like Maribyrnong, and then I remember going back past McIntyre Road one time to go see my grandmother, because she lived, you know, on McIntyre Road, and we're going down that way, and packed up, cleaned out, moved her on.
I think they pay him off, right? Do you think they pay him off?
I don't know if it's a pay. I believe it's actually because if they don't move you on, then there are squatting laws. Like, let's see if we can find something on it.
Yeah, try and find it, because
you got to get yourself a Jamie Vernon, man. What's going on?
I mean, yo, we're in a housing crisis. We're in inflation season. We're in recession, and you're gonna tell me that I can get land just by squatting on that motherfucker?
Well, you can't. Like, it's, you know, squatters' rights. Here we go. Armstrong Legal. Really good law firm, by the way, Armstrong Legal.
Okay, shout out.
Shout out. So, squatting is the act of using empty, disused and abandoned property. If a squatter meets certain requirements, they can claim title to the property after a certain amount of time under the law of adverse possession, or what are known as squatters' rights. Adverse possession or squatters' rights. I'm just clicking into this to get a bit more detail. Adverse possession. So squatters' rights operate to deal with overlooked land where the original owner has been dead or absent for a long period of time. The theory of the law of adverse possession involves an obligation for an owner to use, maintain and defend land. If the land is neglected for a long period, the law considers the original owner as forfeited their right to keep it. So, laws for adverse possession vary between the states and territories, but there are general criteria which must be met. So, the claimant must have had exclusive, open, and factual possession of the land without consent for a continuous number of years.
What amount of years?
It just states a continuous amount of years. Where are we? Victoria. Limitations of the Act 1958 provides an adverse possession claim can be made against an owner after 15 years. It also states such a claim cannot be made over Crown land, rail, track, water authorities, council land.
Yeah, like official land.
Property, yeah.
Yo.
But they differentiate. Like a claim can be made against an owner after 12 years in Tasmania, after 12 years in South Australia, 12 years in Western Australia. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so then that's something. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm like, if this was like Africa and there was the same laws, bro, people
just be moving in.
Be like, hi, how are you? Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah. You're going to see me for the next 12 years, whether you like it or not. My boys in the back got some AKs. Fuck you. Like, if there was such laws, which they don't even need laws like that. They just, like I've seen, African Americans, we want to go back to the homeland. Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, go back. That's where it's at. Then they're like, oh, we bought some land. Then they get to Africa and the land is there, but it's not theirs. It's 10 other people's land.
Yeah.
So I guess they sort of like
conned. Is that like a bit of a clever sort of hustle going on?
Oh yeah, just sell land to like everyone. But speaking of free land, man, we also gotta get into free speech, right? Because I think that's something that
it's a great segue that from free land to free speech.
I'm on that Oprah shit, man. I'm welcome. But yeah. So, what are your thoughts? Even like with Elon, right, buying Twitter, bringing back, Project Veritas, right, which is very, very fascinating with what they're doing. I think they brought Trump back as well, right?
I don't think he's taken up the
offer.
Yeah, I don't think he's taken up the offer. I think he got involved with his own social media or something. I don't know. He got involved with something.
And the name is no one freaking knows.
It's not Getter. That was a conservative platform, I believe. Truth Social. That's it. Truth Social.
Right.
Truth Social. Is that me or you?
That was me.
That was you? Okay, yeah, cool.
You know when you put it on silent. So the
Respect
Apple
the process, bro.
Yeah, but it's also the Apple ecosystem. This is what I gotta say. It's like you put it on silent here, but then it's like, oh wait, by the way, hey,
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah. So what are your thoughts? Like, do you think? Especially with social media and being censored, right? That's something that became quite relevant and prevalent in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Like, what do you think?
I'm a free speech advocate. I believe that even hate speech has a place, not because I'm an advocate of hate speech, but because if you don't allow that to be had, it gets pushed underground and it builds momentum.
And builds violence, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that is the reason, that is the only reason that you need to have hate speech play out in a public forum, because then you can take it to the market of free ideas and, you know, people can dispute it and argue against it. But when you don't have that, it gets pushed underground, it creates a taboo around it, and it builds momentum. If you look at a number of things that have played out, particularly with Twitter, for instance, right? Twitter became a leftist echo chamber.
Soft.
Like I've not been a fan of Twitter the entire time.
It actually is an echo chamber.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I started a Twitter account, obviously, for my political run. I had another account that I'd operate here and there, but it was more just to see what was going on. I didn't interact. I'm not interested. Like, I would watch some of the most toxic, vile sort of stupidity, like pile-on shit, like stuff that, you know, you think that, oh yeah, in high school that happened and you're sort of glad that you grow out of that and all the rest of it. But just insanity, like peak insanity.
But then what's so crazy is that they have all these like super woke, which is funny because back in the day, being woke was actually cool. Like I remember when I think it was that Childish Gambino song, he's like, stay woke, right? And you're like, oh, you know, that was like back in 2015, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, like be woke, be awakened by your surroundings, right? Maybe it had more of a spiritual context as well. But now it's like, it's gone, and that's just that's what happens with society as a whole. It's just you go and then it's like, yeah, like we're just gonna fuck it up, right? We're gonna go to the extreme level of it. We can't enjoy it. It's like if you like a chocolate cake, you can have a slice of it, but you just decide to have the whole fucking bakery, right? And being woke on Twitter, it's so woke, but then they're so blinded by the fact that you can watch porn on there, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing where you're like, what are you talking about? Being, you know, oh, our kids have to be protected from all these things, or make sure that we are equal, and make sure that, you know, you can't blame the rape victims. You can't do this. You're just like, hey, pick a side.
Yeah.
Or don't, or just fuck off, right? Because I feel like Twitter is, I mean, Elon bought it. People are against him buying it because there's a monopoly, there's a centralization that's happening with that, which could have some sort of repercussions. I don't really know. I don't know the dude. It's not like we chat. So, but hey, Elon, what's up? but it's, I don't get it. I don't get the platform. I don't get how you're just sharing your thoughts. People are like, oh, this works so great for my business, or it's worked great for this. I'm like, maybe that's like a small part of things, but a lot of the times it's super progressive. Even like in the Black community, it's really like narrow-minded. It's very like the lens is super focused on one issue, and that's exactly what dominates majority of it. That when you come in with maybe even just a quite neutral perspective, you're a bigot. You know. So
I get that a lot these days. I'm a bigot. You know,
Antonio the bigot.
Literally. You know what I mean? Like this is some of the stupidity that we're dealing with today. Like, but yeah, look, I think that, like I said, I'm a free speech advocate. I believe that I don't believe that words are violence. I've actually experienced real violence. You know, don't talk to me about your words of violence, because I'll tell you right now, it sucks getting called names and all sorts of stuff. But I get a lot of that these days, particularly after the political run, because immediately people don't understand what libertarianism is, right? People immediately go, like all things, right-wing fascist ideologue. I had some idiot the other day on, we won't name the social media that he came after me on, but he was an absolute idiot. Like, he paid no attention to the argument I was making, took what he wanted from it, recreated the argument to suit whatever narrative he was holding in his own head at the time. And when I pulled him up and went, didn't you just call me a right-wing fascist ideologue? And that I had sour grapes? So I put up an article about the dangers of society marching towards socialism and how people don't understand what socialism actually is. Like the amount of times I've heard people talk about democratic socialism. I've had people in my campaign, supporting my campaign, who have stood on bread lines in the Baltic nations before. They know what communism is. They know what socialism is. They have first-hand lived experience of these ideologies. They moved to Australia to get the fuck away from them, right? Like legitimately. And I had one of them with me, lovely guy, really like very, very intelligent, very, very sincere, hardworking, driven, has done quite well for himself in life. And we're out canvassing at Werribee Station, handing out like, you know, the flyers, and we've got some of our policies on the back of it, and, you know, it's got my ugly mug on it and all the rest of it. And we're like, you know, just some information relating to the state election, Liberal Democrats Party, da. And this guy's like, ugh. He's like, democratic socialism is the only way forward. And my campaign volunteer turned around and said, what? And he's like, democratic socialism. He's like, do you know what socialism is? And he's looked at him and like, oh, don't do that. We've never had democratic socialism before. He's like, first of all, it's an oxymoron. He's like, second, I've stood on a bread line before. He goes, trust me when I tell you, I'd prefer to stand here. He goes, on the bread line, I went hungry. He goes, here, I don't go hungry. He goes, and standing out here handing out flyers and policies, he goes, is much better, let me tell you. He asked the kid for his understanding of it. The kid like had no idea what he was talking about, first of all. But, you know.
Because they don't.
They don't. They really don't. But that's okay. Like, you know, like that's how we learn, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So he's having the conversation with this kid, and he told him, like, he's like, I've stood on a bread line. I've stood there. He's like, what you are advocating for will not be better for people. It's much worse. And I know because I lived it. And he almost like watched the NPC chip in the back of his head, like hardwire and then just sort of fizzle.
And glitch
he didn't know what to say. So he just walked off.
Well, because then this like fits perfectly into the Gen Z, right? Because you'd have been a Gen Z kind of guy who was told off. But also going off that sort of belief, it's a very shallow, cheap belief that you build.
Well, the ideas can't even be challenged. Like, you can't even challenge their ideas. I don't know what to say to that. I really don't. Because having a socialist economy in which the means of production, right, so your GDP, are socially and collectively owned or controlled. So they have to put everything to a vote. Well, let's think about the practicality of that first of all. How many people do you know pissed and moaned about the fact that they had to go through a federal election this year?
Plenty.
And a state election?
Plenty.
And how much of them like, oh, it's too much, bro, and oh, you know what?
Time out of my day, stop, you know, because I can't wank off long enough. Like that's
so that they're going to have to take everything to a vote. Is that what I'm reading here? Like, first of all, second of all, you've got to have somebody at the head of that making those decisions, right? Or are they going to put everything to a vote? Like, if anything, this is just making me ask more questions than I originally had.
Okay.
I'm not even joking.
Because it doesn't make any sense. That's the thing. It
The other thing is that look at what people voted for, right? So most people, when they voted at this election, this state election, like 36 or 37% of people voted for the Labor Party. That's it. They formed government on 37% of people voting for them. So just over a third.
Ouch.
So 2/3 of people did not vote for them. How are you going to have a democratic socialism like argument at all?
Based on the actual results, based on facts and statistics.
Well, okay, how are you going to do it? I'm sort of looking at that going, well, there's a first problem. And then second, what are you going to vote on? Like everything? Like, you're going to vote on absolutely everything that you come across? So should we bring manufacturing back to Australia? All right, let's take it to a vote. Cool.
No,
Then we establish that, yes, we're bringing it back. Everybody's in favour of it.
no,
All
just
right,
watch
sweet.
it. There's gonna be protests about not voting for everything. That's what's gonna happen.
But this becomes the problem of the system, right? Like, it becomes a problem of the system. So I'm dumbfounded when they make these arguments, because every time I've spoken to somebody who has argued for democratic socialism and I've asked them, what does that look like to you? They give me some sort of pie in the sky. Nobody's ever singing from the same hymn sheet, first of all. Like, they're just not. They never do, from my experience. I can only talk to my experience, right? But from my experience, none of them ever say the same thing. They all come up with something different. That's why I'm always like fascinated by it. That's why I went to I've got to get the official, while we're on the podcast.
Right.
Let me get the official, what does the internet say it is?
And the thing is that once they hear that definition, they'd be like, oh, that's not what I thought.
Well, there's just, because there's so many different opinions and things, right? Like, that's kind of why I'm a libertarian, because I accept that what you and I may choose to do with our lives may be different. That doesn't make you right and me wrong, or vice versa. It just means that if it passes the harm principle, which means that my freedoms and my liberties do not impact you and how you go about things, then I should be free to make that decision for myself. As long as it's not, impacting you. Like, if I decide...
Yeah, but the thing is that when it comes to something like an issue of public health, they would say you are impacting other people.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. So you make a certain amount of allowances and you make your peace with that, right? But if we go back to everything that was playing out, we know that wasn't the case. Yeah. We know that wasn't the case. And people are now coming out and admitting that. And not just, some random dude who lives in, with his tinfoil hat and whatever. Like, we've got respected individuals. I mean, I sat down and watched Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who was the fringe epidemiologist who co-authored the Great Barrington Declaration, where they called out a number of concerns around the approach that governments around the world were taking with COVID. And what happened? Francis Collins and Anthony Fauci, on email, talked about how they've got to discredit them, that this Great Barrington Declaration is dangerous. Like, when you have to silence somebody else because your argument is not strong enough to stand up to it...
There's no argument.
I hate to break it to you, motherfucker. There's something wrong with your argument.
Yeah, there's no argument.
Like, that's weak. That's a society we are now moving into. That is why I believe in free speech. Because if my argument is so weak that you can deconstruct it and make it look stupid with your argument, then yours is probably the better argument. And either I need to rethink my stance on this topic, or I need to get a better argument if I'm going to try and defend it.
Yeah, but also the thing is now everything has become politicized, right? Everything. Calling someone fat, it's something to do with the politics and
as somebody who grew up fat, that really bothers me.
Same here.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you were fat too, weren't you? Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, but think about the things that you did in your life to get healthier. Choices that you made for a better quality of life for you.
Yeah, but the things that what they say, right? This is what I've seen, because for me, what helps me balance out my point of view is to see people who I disagree with, just to see, right? I don't like echo chambers, right? I like to just be like, let me see, just don't get triggered.
Yeah.
But let me see. And a lot of times they're like, oh, you're fat phobic now. You hate yourself. That's why you did it. You hated yourself. Because true love means that you could have really accepted your body acceptance. And
how would your blood pressure go with that though? Would your blood pressure have a problem with it?
Like the chafing in the summer. That's
I remember that. I got those thighs now just from working out, and I ain't even training that hard those days. Yeah.
It's there's certain things where no one who transforms and goes and becomes a better version of themselves wants to go back as, right? The things that now is just an excuse. So now that you're politicizing everything, like everything's everything. You can't even hairstyle, culture, race, everything is politics to the point, gender. It's so then once you make it a political sort of when you put it in the political category, now you can't talk about it, right? That's why PC came from, right? It's not politically correct. You're like, who gave a shit about what was politically correct before? Because nothing was politicized. So now that you're putting it in that bracket, you're silencing people, and that's why we're going back to the freedom of speech, right? Anything that goes against it's not even a status quo anymore. It's a political quo of, if this goes against the majority of where people politically stand, which it actually isn't, because statistically,
it's a fringe
people are
element.
not.
Yeah, it's a fringe element. It's not the majority at all.
It's not. It's actually people are scared to just speak up. That's it. Hey, there's no editing here. People are gonna be like, "Oh shit!" Like, oh, hello, we're back.
And we're back.
That fucking camera, is it something that I'm doing? Like, what the hell? Anyway, but yeah. So, what do you know now? Because it's funny. I think one thing I wanted to mention in the podcast is, while we were growing up, a lot of the either animations, movies were very un-PC, right? Yeah. We're talking about Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, right? Which is still one of the GOATs.
You know Trey Parker and Matt Stone are both libertarians?
Really?
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah, they're actually libertarians.
Mad.
Yeah. Because I think Trey Parker, or was it Matt Stone? I think it might actually be Matt Stone. Supported the Libertarian Party in the US, and is on record as saying when you get to a certain sort of level of,
fame,
life, well, just life, like, experience,
accomplishments, I guess, yeah,
you just sort of realise that regardless of whether you're doing it from the left or the right, to put your belief system on others and force them to conform to how you view the world is immoral and unethical. And when I read it, I was just like, 100%. 100%.
I think it's just good to just show the perspective. Just show a perspective. And then the person decides. I think that's where true freedom is, right? If you're like talking about human rights, the basis of human rights is the freedom to choose, right? That's what even differentiates us from animals, right? They can choose, but they don't really have much of a choice. As we can really gather data, we can see what suits us, our environment, our morals, our values, and then make a decision. But I'd like to have data, right? And being in an information era, it's too much data. Too much sauce out there.
Way too much sauce.
And anyways, so I know we're jumping on so many subjects because it's just like so much to talk about. This could be a 6-hour podcast, but there will always be a part 2, part 3. Like we can always continue these conversations. But with that, how do you, so now knowing, like, you're a person I know who likes to gather data, right? You like your information. I remember your YouTube, it was just like, whoa, bro.
There was a lot there, wasn't it?
It was a lot. It was a lot, but it was informative, right? For someone who doesn't have the same algorithm, right? Because algorithm is all like a fingerprint. Everyone has a different one, right? So how do you find the balance? What is your sort of thing to make sure you don't end up down a rabbit hole where you're like, the reality breaks and you're like, shit, I need to get out of this. And because we've all been down there. Yeah. But how do you make sure you don't end up there? Or do you still struggle with that? Or is it something that is just natural and you can kind of fend off the bullshit?
Well, I can definitely fend off the bullshit. Like that doesn't worry me. I know who I am, what I stand for, my moral and ethical compass, I also associate with people who either sit left or right. I spend probably more time with libertarians these days than I do with any other type of people.
And how do you recognize a libertarian? How do you find them? Is there like a website we should know about? Or?
No, it's more like, so most people don't actually recognize that they are libertarians until you ask them a couple questions. How do you feel about government? That always sets people off. How do you feel about taxes? That normally sets people off. Like, talk to them about the debt deficit in this state, $170 billion by 2025, I think it is. What they're getting, bang for their buck. Ask them how they felt about COVID, lockdowns, all those sorts of things. Generally, people will cough up information, and the more that government expands and we move towards authoritarianism, the opposite of authoritarianism is libertarianism. It's the complete counter opposite. So everything that, let's say, the socialists stand for, like the socialists of, Victorian Socialist Party, everything that they stand for, the Liberal Democrats are the complete antithesis of them. We're the counter opposite. They believe in control. They believe in conformity. They believe in, we're just like, nah. Like, we actually ran on getting elected to get out of your way, because we believe that you're an adult and you should be treated like one. If that means that you choose to, I don't know, eat 12 donuts, it's like, well, it's probably not good for you, but hey, bro, you do you. That comes with consequences that you're not going to be able to get away from, but that's on you, right? If you
punch someone in the face and they crack their skull and you end up in jail, that's on you.
But that breaches the harm principle.
Right.
Because you've now harmed somebody else.
So now control needs to occur. And
so at that point,
authority needs to step in.
Correct.
Right.
Because you're not free to harm somebody else.
Yeah.
You are free to do it to yourself. If you choose to go get fuck off tattooed on your forehead, right? Well, I wouldn't do it, but I don't know if you're going to be great for a job in retail or in, finance.
What was that? No regrets.
Yeah. No regrets. Yeah. Hard. I wouldn't do it, but that's your business,
Yeah.
Now, that might limit your options for employment or whatever. It might come with its own costs associated with that choice. But it is your body. It is your right to do as you will do to your body, bodily autonomy. So what people don't realise about the Liberal Democrats is that we believe in bodily autonomy, right? Like, we genuinely believe in it. So if the government came out tomorrow and said that we're going to mandate that everybody eats a handful of peanuts, well, we would oppose that too, because what happens to those who go into anaphylactic shock? I can eat peanuts. I enjoy them, right? I don't believe that everybody should have to eat them, though.
So then where do you stand with equality then, right? Or equity, right? Because people have this now argument, right, with equality versus equity, right? Yep. So where do you stand with that?
So I'm not a fan of the equity argument. Now, I tell people all the time, not everybody starts the race in life at the same point. Yeah, not
we both
starts,
didn't.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Right.
But look what we've accomplished in our lives. Why? Because I know for me, my greatest motivator was I didn't turn into the piece of shit that my father is, and I didn't stay a lower socioeconomic individual. I didn't want to live in domestic violence. There's a reason why I'm still single at 41. Right? I made decisions in my life. Not that I didn't want to get married or have kids no, but my focus was making sure that I didn't end up where I started in life.
God damn it! For the General Samuel L. Jackson on this shit. Bitch. Motherfucker. Anyways, but you can get back.
So just talking about how the motivator for me in life.
Oh, yes.
I didn't want to end up.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Like, I had mates who went to jail, right? Like, I grew up in that environment. Like, I grew up in sunshine, for God's sakes. and not before it became like this gentrified wank version of sunshine, which it is today. Like I'll be honest with you, it's changing, right? And society's becoming softer, and that's cool, right? But like it's not what I grew up in. I grew up in an environment where it was very fight or flight, and yeah, I had seen where the path would lead you. Everybody knew people who went to jail and all that sort of stuff. Like I said, I had mates who went to jail. I didn't want to end up there. So I made choices in my life to ensure that I didn't. So instead of sitting in a grey, tracksuit, I'm sitting here now in a 3-piece suit.
It's grey too, so it's a better version of a grey.
So, but, like there were things that I did in order to ensure that I went on a path that led me to have choices, to have options in life. I think that a lot of what is happening today in society is removing people's options. Life is all about options.
But the thing is that there's a paradox of choice, right? So that's why it's like I feel like there's actually too many options.
But that's because people are not like that comes down to the individual, right? So I know for me, like you saw how disciplined I can be, right? The food prep, all that sort of stuff, my training, all that sort of stuff. I mean, you were seeing me before I had my knee surgery. When my knee, like you were the reason I ended up going to get surgery. You know what I mean?
How's the knee, by the way? It's good.
Yeah. It's never going to be perfect, but it is so much better than what it was.
Great. Yeah.
I'm not squatting in the gym the way I was. Like I peaked out at about 180 kilo, which it's not bad. I was getting back there.
That's
I think my peak was over 220 something. But like I was able to go and do whatever I wanted in my life. Like I lived in a beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, with city views in Brunswick East, and I could do whatever I wanted. Like even during COVID, even though I was, confined to my home, I could still do what I wanted. I could live my life on my own terms. If I wanted to sit down and, play PlayStation, I could. If I wanted to, go and train, because my training partner and I would train together.
In your, like the private gym as well.
Yeah, correct. Like, we built a little outdoor sort of type setup where we could go and train, and we did. During lockdown, we would train. We used our hour. No questions asked, stayed committed, trained, all good, It wasn't the fact that there were too many options. It was that people have become too lazy at actually going, this is what I want to achieve. This is the goal that I'm setting for myself. And now it requires discipline, determination, laser focus to go off and achieve it. Now that means sometimes giving up certain things. It means that, I can't go out and get drunk with my friends because tomorrow morning I'm going to get up and need to be at the gym at 6 a.m.
Or I can't eat a whole pizza and feel sorry for myself the next day because I feel sluggish and I can't lift for shit. But people don't want that. The thing is, I had what's her name, Jane. She was an amazing lady who came over as well. Mm-hmm. She's a relationship coach, but she's also definitely libertarian, very freedom focused. Mm-hmm. And she was saying it's like there's just a program, there's an agenda of, and not like getting too much into conspiracy theories or anything like that. Yeah, but there's an agenda of sort of individualizing ourselves, right? We all sort of follow a certain thing of where we're going to kind of let go of whatever we stand for, anything that's needs discipline. No, we're all hedonistic. We're all, we want to soak ourselves into what we want all the time. We don't understand what sacrifice means. Sacrifice is pain. Sacrifice is depression. Sacrifice is this, right? As to, no, it's necessary to get to where you want to be. But then everyone wants to ask, how do I be that top 1%? Or how do I be the top 10%?
Yep.
It's not sitting on your ass and watching YouTube all day and mentally masturbating, right? Because that's what it is. It's like, I could be this person. I'll just keep watching of what I could be. Sure. Instead of what, you've done, which actually I learned a lot from your discipline, actually. Mm-hmm. Like it sucks, but after a while it becomes part of you, right?
Absolutely. You learn to embrace it.
Yeah, and you're like, and then once you see the results, which takes time because it's part of what makes someone successful is that delayed gratification. So
Correct.
you having that,
Because you've earned it.
but then now you know the respect of the people who've earned it even more, like are in the next level. So now you're like, mad respect.
Correct.
Now I know what it takes to get there. Do I still want it? Am I
Correct.
willing to sacrifice? And that's the reevaluation that you have.
Yep.
But yeah, when I saw I mean, I got my meal prep here, right? Like, it's mad that I'm this person now, but it's life changing.
Yep.
And it also, even just from everything that we've spoken about, it gathers the data that's been stored up in there and kind of distributes it to you in a healthy way, right? So let's say like that outlet of working out or making sure you're eating well or not drinking yourself silly every night or every weekend.
Yep.
It balances you, right? So if we're not only talking about what's going on and this is what's happening on the internet, it's happening and it will keep happening. That's out of our control. But how do we make sure we maintain that, as I've asked you, how do you keep that balance?
Yep.
And obviously your physical and mental health is important to you. And that's a massive factor as people don't understand. They just say, oh, I'm just going to, ingest more information to learn more. It's like, no, you need to actually just detach.
Yep.
And
absolutely. So I find that training for me, so the last 12 months have been the first period in 20 years where I have not been able to train 4, 5, 6 days a week. And that was incredibly difficult for me. And partly that was because of like my work situation, my home situation. It was because of, the politics, going from, being a political nobody, an armchair quarterback type deal, to suddenly building an entire branch out in the western suburbs for, the Liberal Democrats, where when I first went to a branch meeting at the start of this year, I think it was January, February, somewhere like that, there were probably 10 people in attendance. We're getting anywhere from 30 to 45 people every month now that are turning up, that are dedicated, that are committed. My first run at the federal election, there was myself and my campaign manager, Bridget. We actually met through the protest movement because the pandemic legislation that was passed was terrifying. Like, I remember looking over the information and then obviously going to the protests because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, what they are proposing here in this legislation is dangerous. And eventually 60 QCs and the head of the Vic Bar came out and talked about how it was Stasi-like. Like, we're talking dangerous. 60 QCs and the head of the Vic Bar. And people were still defending this. Like, oh, it's not that bad. We need to have the legislation in place. It's like, what do you know that 60 QCs and the head of the Vic Bar don't about law? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of experts in nothing that are talking out through their ass. So I got out there and I raised my voice. I was not happy. I called things out.
And how was that? How was it calling things out in that way? Because you already had your opinion. You already knew where you stood. But
Yep.
how was that publicly?
So I had my 40th birthday at the protest before the pandemic legislation passed. I think it was the week before that. And I had a number of friends and even family get on my case and say, you never did anything for your 21st. You're now turning 40. You need to get out and have a party and do something. And to be honest with you, I was not happy with a lot of things that were playing out in society. And I was like, there's not a lot to celebrate here, guys. But they kept on me. And I went, you know what? All right. It's my birthday and I will do something that means something to me and I will invite people to attend and be a part of it. And if they want to be there, they can. And if they don't, they don't. So I sent out a WhatsApp chat to 50 of my closest, nearest and dearest, because I have a number of friends, obviously. I'm very eclectic, getting to different things and, social person as a result.
The text, yeah.
Yeah. Of the 50 people I invited, 5 turned up. My mother was one of those people. People cracked it that I decided to have my birthday at a protest. How dare you? How selfish, da-da-da. So I'd already been called selfish and all sorts of nonsense for calling this stuff out. But nobody was ever able to defend why I was selfish, because when I would argue and say, all right, we want to have the argument, I'm going to bring data to support my argument because that's how I formed my argument. I want you to bring me some data to how you got to your argument. In the 2.5 years, nobody has ever been able to bring me any data at all. They only ever bring me their emotions. No one ever brings me their data.
Isn't that the representation of society at the moment anyways?
Absolutely, and that's part of the problem of society today, because everybody's entitled to their emotions, but they're yours to manage.
Well said. That is...
Because I got emotions too, yeah?
Yeah.
And I don't put mine on you. So why do you get to put yours on me? But nobody ever wants to have that conversation. It did it again. It did it again.
And we're back. God damn, this is what happens when it's a one-woman show, man. Shit.
You need a Jamie Vernon.
I need a lot. But you know what? This is the start, and I think it's great that it's been documented anyway. So then you can see that regardless of how production is, it's the message that I want to, press forward. This is just because we're in the 21st century and this is what needs to happen. Yep. But if it was in the 19th century, it would come off on a newspaper or it would come up on a book or something, right?
Sure.
So either way, it's like, whatever, who gives a shit? But hey, so I got to ask, like now that we're like slowly getting on the wrapping end of things, but what are your thoughts on this Kanye, Candace, BLM shit? Like, where do you stand? Where do you stand?
So, Kanye, like, I'm a big fan of Kanye's music. First of all, I saw him pop up on, like, I think it was a clip from Alex Jones.
Yeah,
with like he had a mask over his face, he had like a balaclava type deal.
Yeah,
what's that? I missed everything around that. Like, I've been so busy with the politics thing that I just sort of caught a snippet of that on another political commentary. I think it was old mate Greg again with a black conservative perspective, because I was literally just like checking it out and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't for me. It wasn't anything as significant as watching Lex Friedman podcast, one that where you really got to know what the fuck was going on mentally. Or the Drink Champs, which I don't know if it was the alcohol mixed with the meds. I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. Those were a bit more significant. That one, especially wearing the balaclava, I feel like he was hiding behind a mask. That was not what he was trying to say. He has to show up as a man. Yeah. Grow some balls and whatever. People say, oh, toxic masculinity. Fuck your toxic masculinity. Yeah. Show up as a man and put your balls on the table. Be like, this is what I believe in. And I'm going to call out the people I need to. But that one was a bit...
Because that was done after the Tim Pool one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because he walked out of Tim Pool or something. Like, I didn't even catch that.
I didn't catch that either. I think because it was in the midst of this sort of campaign sort of noise that was happening. Yep. And I didn't know if it was a stunt, right? Because an album was coming out, because usually that's what usually happens these days. Yep. The only thing I can say from those two was not something that was already said, but a bit more articulated, which was it had nothing to do with that. That was just fashion. Yep. Him blaming the Jews. I mean, the Jews run the media.
So he went anti-Semite? So he went like full anti-Semite or?
Well, no.
No?
He went full anti-Semite on the Drink Champs, which was where...
Oh,
those-
really? I've missed all of this.
Yeah.
I've been paying attention, obviously, to Black Lives Matter, to Candace Owens. The Candace Owens has actually done a very good documentary about Black Lives Matter.
It did, but then the only thing I got a bit cringe over was like saying that he wasn't really, like with George Floyd, he wasn't really choked. And that was
Yeah.
like a thing. I said, I don't know. I got a bit cringe. That was when I was like, death is death. Like being killed on camera is it's fucked.
Yeah.
But the actual hypocrisy behind it, and how it's sort of, I mean, that whole fist reminds me of communism like a motherfucker anyway. So
Well, it is a Marxist fist.
It is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But with Kanye, I respect him as an artist. I feel like I actually don't think he thought he was going to be this big.
Yeah.
I honestly think he didn't think he was going to lose all his deals, right? But maybe he was a mastermind and he's like, because he wanted to get out of Adidas, right?
Yeah.
Which was a really bad deal, right?
Yeah.
That's why they can still go on with Yeezy stuff.
Yeah.
Even though he's left.
Yeah.
Even though he made him billions, right?
Yeah.
He's like, damn it, I signed the worst contract ever, right? So, and them being German doesn't help.
Yeah.
With the whole anti-Semite thing, right? So they're like, this is the last pull, we got to do it. But even him saying anti-Semite, he was saying about, Jews run the media, which I will put a photo up here that says they do. Like it shows with, NBC, with everything.
Yeah.
It's run by them, right?
Yeah.
Not saying it's anything bad. It's saying if, I don't know, majority of the music industry is run by rich white men. No one's going to say I'm anti-white.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, but he was like, I'm going to go Megatron 3000 on them Jews. Right? You're like,
what the hell does that even mean?
That was paraphrasing. That was not exactly what he said, but it was where they're like, oh, wow. So then what made it worse is all the skinheads and the neo-Nazis.
Well, they rallied to the
They
cause?
loved it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
They were like, yeah. On the bridges, they were like, oh.
Really?
Yeah, we fuck with Kanye. Kanye is on our side. He finally gets it, right? So now...
I have literally been away from I have caught none of this.
Yeah. So there was that, and saying white lives matter, which they do. Everyone's lives matter, which is crazy. And I'm saying it now. I don't give a fuck. But, there was this guy on...
Is this kind of like when they did the All Lives Matter versus like Black Lives Matter?
No. This is a fashion show that he had... And at the back of the T-shirt said "White Lives Matter."
Oh, I saw that. He posed with Candace.
With Candace, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, okay.
And
I thought it just went dead. For
and then, thank you. Thanks for watching. You're like my production person and guest at the same time. But yeah, so they did that, and when I saw it, I was like, ha 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 ha.
Yep.
Funny, duh.
Yeah.
Right? But, according to the fucking world, it was, hey, my God, I can't believe he said this. And then, calling him all sorts of names, which I'm like, have you lost track of reality? This is when delusion really started to, show itself. Was people were asked, like actual Caucasians were asked, do white lives matter? They said no.
Yeah. This is part of the bizarro world that we live in. Like where people... So, again, I put up a post on social media recently talking about the dangers of socialism, how people don't understand things. Like they literally will vote against their own interests because they get caught up in tribalism, right? And how political tribalism is incredibly dangerous because we have this inert nature within humans to be tribalists, red team, blue team, and when you do that, and particularly on something like politics where you should be paying attention to the policies, the individuals, what the plan is, the economics piece that sits behind it, how they're going to fund it, what's it going to cost, is it viable, and you just go red team, blue team, that's so dangerous because you literally, like, you're not stopping and actually giving the consideration to the matter which stands to impact you. And if you just go, yeah, I'm voting this way because that's my team, and your team come out and go, we don't really need you, and as a result, we're going to impact you by, I don't know, whatever. We're going to cut jobs in that sector, or like that. That's stupidity. That's stupidity, and that's where we are in the world. Where, like, if people are actually like they're interviewing Caucasian people and asking them, do white lives matter, and they go no, then you basically just voted against yourself. And that's open to interpretation in what they do, beyond that point.
Well, I also have to have an update because now he's like praising Hitler and all his like.
Really?
He's now gone a bit like, you're like, I gotta leave you there. Yeah, and that's where I don't know. Honestly, I'm not even. People are like, I'm worried. I'm like, I'm not worried for this dude. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing. People are like, oh, he's crazy. Oh, is he crazy again? Oh, yeah, that's how you can easily dismiss anyone who questions the status quo. I think maybe he's testing free speech. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but I don't think he's that dumb to just go and, obviously he was saying, oh, Beyonce and Jay-Z are part of the Illuminati. I was like, yes. It was true. They worship the devil and stuff. I'm like, okay, it is what it is. But going with what they did with BLM, absolutely. I feel like it is, unfortunately, something that I wasn't shocked when it comes to Black people, straight up. Mm-hmm. We know how to sell ourselves. We know how to sell ourselves short. People are like, oh, blame it on white supremacy. I'm like, there's no white supremacy in Africa. I've seen this shit come from Africa too, right? Yeah. There's no, there's a white person always to blame. There's no white person to blame there. Right? Yeah. Now they're blaming Chinese for taking over all the redevelopments in the land and everything like that, right? I'm like, okay, whatever. But when it comes to Black people, I am not surprised that you chose money over bettering ourselves. I'm not surprised.
So I think that the segregation thing is quite dangerous, right?
Oh, like at universities and stuff
yeah,
at the moment.
Absolutely.
NYU,
absolutely,
seriously.
Right? Like, they're doing it in the name of inclusion, and it's like, really? Because if they were doing that 50, 70 years ago, somewhere in the vicinity of, you'd be saying it for different reasons. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the last time that happened wasn't a good thing then either. Like, not good now either, right?
But it wasn't good because it was for white people. Now they're doing it for Black people.
Yeah, but it's the same thing.
It is.
It's the exact same thing.
But they've repackaged it because now it's for the minorities.
That's what I'm saying. They're doing the same thing. They've just repackaged it and gone, oh no, that this is better. So no, it's the same problem, dude. It's the exact same problem.
It's so messed up because so their argument, right, is we want to be in an environment where people don't have to question why we say certain things, why our hair is a certain way, why we eat certain foods, or whatever it is, like, or, understanding a certain background, pain, hurt, oppression, right? And I'm saying that sarcastically because it's just ridiculous. What I've realized from this whole segregation is that no one wants equality.
No, God, people talk about equality, but they're not prepared to actually have equality.
But they actually don't want it, because if they wanted it, they are fighting for it before.
People want preferential treatment. Like, that's why everybody's a victim today. I'll give you an example, right? So when society is divided around issues of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, like all of these things, yeah? Be wary of those who are trying to monetize your rage, right? That's where we are today. No logic, all emotion, easily manipulated. Now, this statement this actually came out of the gold rush, right? When everybody's digging for gold, it's good to be in the pick and shovel business. Today, we're dealing with the divide, like I mentioned, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation,
politics.
Politics, everything. Be really cautious of the people that are selling the picks and shovels, yeah? The ones that are selling you the message.
That's a good one.
Like BLM, right? I was calling out BLM and some of my black friends were like, yeah, dude, that is dangerous. And others were like, hey, bro, that's kind of racist. And I'm like...
Well, everything's racist.
I'm like, how,
now.
though? Talk to me about how. Because I'm open to it. I'm open to being wrong. But how? How is it racist? Oh, because, we should be able to have equality. Like, nobody said you shouldn't be able to have equality. Nobody said that. I'm not saying there aren't people out there that aren't saying that, because sure there are. There's always a fringe element everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that one went now. What is going on, Becky?
I don't know. Going?
Yeah. So like I said, because in the 1840s, the 1850s, when the gold rush was happening, the gold rush, California, there was a gold rush here in Victoria, Ballarat, Sovereign Hill, right? Prospectors weren't guaranteed to make money, right? That was a chance thing. You had to pan for gold, you had to dig for gold. There was no guarantee that you were going to make money. You know, guaranteed they made money? People that sold the picks and the shovels, right? So that statement of when everybody's digging for gold, it's good to be in the pick and shovel business, that's applicable today when everybody is outraged and society's divided over umpteen different, topics. Be wary of those who are looking to monetize your rage for their own benefit. It is... People don't see it either. I remember I had a mentor in finance, and he always said to me, he goes, the problem with you, Cursio? He goes, you've been to the puppet show and you've seen the strings. And once you've seen the strings, you can never unsee the strings. I believe growing up the way that I did made me more susceptible to people pulling scams, people who have a vested interest. Growing up, my mother always told me, she's like, anybody who tells you something, you should question what their benefit is for them telling you what they're telling you. She goes, even if it's me. And I was like,
damn.
Like, why? But you're my mother. She's like, because anybody can tell you something where they have motivation for their own gain, and you need to be able to work out what they stand to gain from what they tell you. That was probably one of the single best things about my childhood. By the same token, it was probably one of the worst.
Well, because then you question everything, no?
Absolutely.
But then, I remember, I think it was it DMX? I think it was DMX, or was it?
X gon' give it to you.
Why? Why did I have that 60-year-old grunt like?
Oh, that deserves its own highlight reel.
But he was saying it's like, it takes too much energy to not trust someone.
Yeah.
Trust them for what they are. If someone's a snake, trust they're going to bite you.
Yeah.
Or they're going to sneak behind your back, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot, I've met a lot of people, including myself, where trust issues goes deep. It goes all the way down to questioning even your mind, what you believe, what your mental process of certain answers in life, right?
Yeah.
And that could also, as you said, could be at your detriment, right?
Sure.
So it's great being cautious and being street smart really comes down to not trusting shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
But it could also be, as you said, the best thing ever, because then you dodge a lot of bullshit, right? But then the thing is that having that mindset can isolate you.
Absolutely, it can.
Right? And how do you manage that? right? Because I would love to know that, maybe because it's something that maybe that was more of a personal question. But, how do you manage that? But, even for the audience, like how can you balance that, right?
So for me, I bleed the battery. I do the Joe Rogan, yeah.
Yeah.
I bleed the battery. I go to the gym, I work out, I hit the bag, the mitt tree. I haven't had somebody hold mitts for me in a while. Big shout out to my former MMA coach, Winha.
When you okay,
Well,
but when you hit the bag,
yeah,
you hit the boxing bag because people this bags are different.
I didn't give any consideration to that. Yeah. Fair point. I stand corrected. Western Suburbs boy. Yeah, I should have known better. You don't want to
be shouting out, your boy.
Yeah.
A different boy.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll hit the full size Muay Thai bag, boxing bag. I train at Derrimut Gym. They've got some great facilities in some of their gyms. Some of their gyms are really spectacular, huge warehouse spaces. Where you can go and just lift weights. I like to go, I put on my Sennheiser earphones and I get in there and I just zone out and I just lift weights. That for me allows me to escape. I'll hit I really like hitting the mitt tree. So it's almost like a tree, but it's got all these mitts off it. I love hitting that. And I really hit that with some real force because, my technique's gotten good again. So I'll absolutely light that thing up and rock it, and I bleed the battery. So the more hours we spend in training, sweating, the less we bleed in war. And I believe that there is a definite part of our brain, like very, very primal, part of our brain that requires us to, particularly as a man, because you do have a lot of testosterone and all those sorts of things. But you have to get that out, particularly in the modern world, because there's so much. It's also why I do float tanks too. Sensory deprivation tank is one of the best things that you can possibly do.
In life. Yeah.
And when I first started doing that, so I probably started doing sensory deprivation tanks. She fucked you again, son!
Fucked me again. No, keep going. Yeah.
So I started doing sensory deprivation tanks probably in about 2013, 2014. So I've been doing them for almost 10 years now. And when I first started going, you sort of get in there and you're like, just floating. You're like, what do I do now? And you just lie there with your eyes closed. And I would start thinking about problems that I was having in life, because right now, even though that we're in a studio and we're having this conversation, it's relatively quiet, there's still the sound of my voice, there's still when the camera goes, or when you swivel in your chair, or if I do that, and there's obviously all the stuff around us. We can smell whatever, in the room, if I'm wearing cologne, you're wearing perfume, or there's just the light, there's visuals, there's a sensory you can touch stuff. You're constantly being overloaded with your senses, and particularly when you go out into a high environment, a lot of people and things like that, you're constantly in sensory overload. When you go into the sensory deprivation tank, it all goes away. Right now I can feel myself, my ass getting numb in the chair and stuff, right? When you're floating, you're weightless. You don't feel that. It's done in the dark. You close the tank behind you and it's pitch black. You can't see nothing. It's soundproof. You don't hear nothing. You're not tasting the water, right? So you don't taste nothing. There's no touch. All of your senses are removed. And what it does is it enables you to think clearly. And one of the only times across the course of any day where you can literally do that. So when I started going to these things, I would just sit there and think about whatever problems I was having at work, what I was trying to achieve. And I found that I would find solutions to problems very quickly because I wasn't being pulled in 15 different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You were solving your own problems.
I was solving my own problems, right? And then it became about just being comfortable and stilling my mind and just allowing myself to be calm and to just stay there. Over years, it got to a point where it was almost like having a psychedelic experience. Like you would almost like, I don't know, you would detach from your body and I would come out, and because you're floating in like Epsom salts and magnesium in the water, like it's so good. It's like coming out from a massage.
But I think what's interesting about it, like when I tried it for the first time, shout out to you as well. That was a mad experience, but it's the body temperature, right? Because people are like, how do you feel like you're floating? It's funny you're talking about this because I was explaining it to my colleagues and an anesthetist I was working with too, because he's like, what happens if someone has an epileptic fit? I'm like, well, first of all, why are you thinking about that as the first thing? Okay, mate. But also I'm like, you can't sink, right? Yeah. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? I'm like, there's salts, bath salts, magnesium, but also you take a cold shower. So then when you get in, it's a bit warmer, and then you go back to your room temperature, your body temperature, and that's why you feel like you're floating, right? And then there's the music that kind of gets you in that mood. But for a first timer, the first half hour is just getting used to it. Once you get used to it, then you're like, damn, it's finished. Yeah.
Correct.
But then once you go over and over again, now you know what to expect. There's no sort of looking around, no one's coming in. Now I know what's coming. Yep. And then now you got to like the next level where you're starting to see, having visual kind of experiences. Yeah.
And it's something that I never expected to do, like, you know, to have. But it's remarkable. Like, and I find that after I float, it takes me back to a baseline where I'm not worried about trivial things in life. Like, don't get me wrong, I will end up bombarding myself with all those things. I've got this, you know, work piece that needs to be done, and there's this transaction I'm working on, and then there's the politics stuff, and then there's growing the branch, and then there's, you know, my own sort of, you know, marketing and PR and all the rest of it, and getting all that out there. And so you're being bombarded in life, and, you know, laundry and clean your room and, you know, make your bed and all, and everything. Like, you know, I got to go to the gym and do. There's 15 million things going on, but I take an hour or two once a month and I go and float. And I'm a better human being for it.
It's like meditation for you, right?
Absolutely. And it's a meditation that I can do because my mind, like I'm a million miles an hour, and then I switch off and I fall asleep. Right?
So do you actually fall asleep in there?
I don't fall asleep in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't fall asleep in there. But if I was to meditate, because I've meditated before and it doesn't work for me.
Right.
Right. Like, I know people who meditate and they swear by it and it works for them. Brilliant. But again, it's not a one size fits all type scenario. But for me, it's the float tank. It's the sensory deprivation tank. It's doing that. That gives me, like I said, it just brings me back to neutral.
And even I think my favorite part, I mean, that was awesome, but I like how when you finish, you're not just out. No. Again, they take you and you have your little cup of tea.
Yeah, you sit there and process.
You sort of ease out of that experience. So do you still go? Like, how often do you go?
Yeah, look,
once every month, is that what you're saying?
Generally, I haven't probably been in the last 6 months. But
can you sense a difference, like not being there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Removing my ability to do a sensory deprivation tank and train the way I like to train has made the last 12 months incredibly difficult for me. Like, I've lost a lot of muscle mass. I've put on fat. that, you know, like I didn't have before. I was in really good shape. Like I got, like during COVID and stuff, I got back to like fighting shape, like when I was younger, my early 20s, and I was training Muay Thai, boxing, you know, MMA. So to have that removed, that was incredibly difficult, because it was a massive readjustment, and but when I have those things on par, like, the minute I went back to training at the gym and making time, that's me. That's where I'm at. That's how I operate.
And do you see yourself getting back there soon, or is
absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Like so now that the politics thing is over, like tomorrow night I'll be in the gym after, you know, work.
Yeah. Gains, baby.
And it's not even like lifting big anymore, you know. Because I remember like when I was on the campaign trail, I would go to the gym and just take 2 hours out and just train. So I would start off on the elliptical, and I normally crank that motherfucker up to like 16, and I just bang that shit out for 15, 20 minutes, get a good sweat going. And then I go over to the mitt tree or the bag, and I hit that shit. And I'll do that for 10, 15 minutes, just because my gas tank is not what it used to be at the moment. You know,
but it's more of a
cardio's-
mental. I think it's also gym maturity as well, right? Knowing that it's not just about numbers. It's not about just progressive overload.
Correct.
It's a more of an experience and what suits you and your lifestyle and health, right?
Correct.
Because obviously as a guy who's 21, he's like, hey, gains, baby, that's all I want. I'll get swole. I'm going to get swole.
Yeah.
You know, and then...
Don't get me wrong, I still want to get swole, but...
which is nothing wrong, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it's also looking at it holistically instead of just biceps and triceps. And shit,
yeah.
You know?
So I actually had a conversation just briefly today, email, with Scott Goebel, who fantastic bodybuilder, Australian bodybuilder, trainer, and you know, like we're mapping it out. So tomorrow he's actually giving me a call at 12 o'clock. So we're going to go through the new program, start mapping that out, the new diet.
He was the one you were following last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you like.
So he
I
wrote
that.
He wrote the last 4 or 5 programs I did.
You got
with my training
swole as
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, we did well. We did well because I actually got
That was
down.
impressive.
I got down to being pretty lean. I was probably sitting at about somewhere between 6 and 8%.
What?
Yeah, I got lean. I got real lean. I was doing a lot of like MMA training though with my old coach Wen.
Oh, by the way, I gotta talk about this. Speaking of MMA, what's up with Connor, bro?
Yeah, he got swole. Huh?
No, but it's not swole. Like that guy is shooting
He's on
something.
Mexican supplements.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So,
for
because
sure.
I wanted to ask you because I'm like,
Yeah.
I saw that and I'm like, his face. It's but also growth hormone or something, right? Because his face grew, like.
Potentially. Well, the thing is that even when you do things like creatine, right? Now, creatine works, no questions asked. It's not like a steroid, but it works. It basically gets your muscles to pull more water into it. As a result, you become fuller in the face.
Nah, but that's not creatine. Like,
No, but that's what like creatine does, right?
right.
The juice does that on steroids.
So is there like there must be a loophole in the US sort of doping agency, right?
He's not fighting right now.
But he wants to. He wants to get back.
But he could do 3 months clean, and that flushes out his system.
Right, but he could still have the same. He could still benefit from
he would definitely benefit from it. Yeah, he would definitely benefit from it.
Right.
So, because that's what a number of, like, if you look at professional athletes, that's what they do. Like, the reason why they test the way that they do is that they test it in the off season. They test them. Connor's he's not fighting. He's not even, I don't think he's even registered to the UFC at the moment. He doesn't hold a contract with them. So there's no need for him to be tested.
Right.
You know,
okay, so that
like
makes
Brock
sense.
Lesnar. They did the same thing with Brock Lesnar. When Brock Lesnar fought Mark Hunt, he was doing the pro wrestling thing, and so when Brock was in the WWE, like, that takes a toll on your body. So steroids, what people don't realize is that steroids actually enable your body to heal.
Right.
So it almost like, if you want to put it in the most basic of base sort of scenarios, it makes you like Wolverine. Yeah, you heal faster.
So okay, wait. So say that again. So is with Connor. So you're saying that the steroids was because he had a really bad injury from right. So do you think that is a reason why he got into it?
Look, I don't know, right? Like I'm just speculating here. So all allegedly.
Yeah.
Right, but I've seen the way he looks. And he looks big. And
it's like, who the fuck is that?
It wouldn't surprise me if he did human growth hormone, because human growth hormone will actually help the body to heal faster.
But then you grow everywhere.
Well, you grow. Well, that's what happens.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he did, because the reality is that break is a nasty break that he had. Like, he broke the shin bone in half. That's a nasty break. And when you see it and people put weight on that injury, it buckles. It buckles. Like, you're lucky that the bone doesn't pop out the skin.
Right. And he would have the best of the best around him to tell him what's the perfect cocktail to follow through with that. Because I know he wants to at least have, which I honestly, I feel like he should just kind of call it a day and end on it peak and be Connor as Connor.
But nobody ever wants to end with a loss. Yeah. Everybody wants to end on top.
Yeah.
And that's part of the psychology of being a champion too. Like, it's sometimes you need to know when to call it, right? And he has solidified his legacy. He was the first ever, simultaneous 2 weight division champion. He had a meteoric rise. What he was able to achieve in that sport, and I'm fucking on Conor McGregor's dick every day of the week, yeah? Like, I'm a fucking fan of what he did. I loved what he did. And it doesn't diminish, if he goes out with a loss, I don't think it diminishes anything. I think that he did things for that sport, and, like people who stand now in the position that they are, double champs and all this, they stand on the shoulders of Conor McGregor, like that giant that Conor McGregor is in that sport. So there's no way discrediting the things that he's achieved or whatever. But yeah,
he's pretty legendary.
Oh, he's phenomenal. Like, what he did, he brought MMA to the masses. He made it this different level of entertaining. Like, he really did. The trash talking, like what Muhammad Ali did for boxing. You know what I mean?
But then now, what do you think, Mr. Bones, this is Jim Jones, what do you think he's going to do? Because he's fucking huge too. I don't know I think he's doing it naturally. I think he's natty. But I saw a photo of him. You've seen his recent bulk.
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, no.
You got it?
Oh, no, I got it.
Show me. Because I know he was lifting some heavy weight at some point. You know what blows me away too? Yeah. Is that you went into MMA until we met.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I knew you're gonna plug yourself into that, and it stuck. I'm legit. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Jim Jones, he was gonna fight in December as a comeback, but then he wasn't ready, and I think he didn't make weight because now he's going heavyweight.
Yeah.
He was light.
He wanted to fight Ngannou.
Okay. This dude, right? I just saw him, right? Oh, wait. Why is...
You're just going to spam with dick pics right now, aren't you?
Oh, my God, no.
Get yours, girl.
Shut the fuck up. You think I want that shit? Fuck out of here. Look at this dude.
Oh, yeah. He's at 255 walk around weight.
That's hectic. And then if you see him with, if you see him with, I think there was a photo with him, Ngannou next to each other. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be, I think it'll be pretty solid.
Thicker
fight.
Than a Snickers.
Yeah.
Thicker than a Snickers.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for the comeback. Because the things that when I joined, he wasn't fighting. When I joined the UFC
UFC cult,
he wasn't fighting. But 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 now he is. But I had to watch his doco
Yeah.
to see who the fuck this guy is and why
Yeah.
it is. You know,
What's that doco on?
YouTube. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, send me the link. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because I'm not joking. Since I moved back to Sunshine,
Yeah.
I have not watched a single UFC event. Not one.
Wait.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I haven't watched one.
You were the reason I'm in.
That's what I'm saying. I haven't watched one. I haven't been able to train the way that I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. My life took a completely different turn. And not one that I'm thrilled with, you know, but it was a necessary turn.
That's crazy. So you haven't watched, like, you haven't seen...
I have not seen a single UFC pay-per-view since I moved back to the western suburbs of Melbourne. Not one. And I watched every single one of them. You sat there and watched pay-per-views with me. Let alone, like, the UFC, like the lead-up programs, like the fight nights...
That's what got me into UFC was the
backstories.
The backstories. Yeah. Now I'm there like, yo, man, we gotta catch this fight. We gotta do this. We like this fight Sundays. There's, you know, and then when I let my brother know that I was into UFC, he was like, oh, you're actually like really into this. I'm like, yeah, I'm coming at 12. We're watching everything, you know. And then when it's ready for, like, especially when it's a champion defending themselves, right? We call them the 3 African kings, right? Those are the ones we loved, right? Yeah. Obviously, we lost 2, unfortunately, but Ngannou still stands. But we were like, oh man, we used to stand up and like, man, Wakanda forever. Shut the fuck. It's actually funny. I think, not Adesanya. Who's the other guy? I just blanked. Kamaru.
Yeah.
I think he's actually in Wakanda. I think he's actually in. I think he's actually in the movie.
He's in the movie?
I think.
No shit. Like, yeah. Right.
But so that's what's crazy. You need to get back into it.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm not joking.
It's so good. It's so good now, especially with, like, I mean, I don't really follow too much of, like, the previews and, like, the lead up to the fights. Now I sort of know what's happening. I'm like a year in, so I'm like, oh yeah, that person. Okay, we need this card is mad.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched in the last month because I'm trying to start off this thing. But I think you need to get back into it, man. It's the best. I think it gets you, like, motivated. It gets you, like, ooh, especially like that music when they're walking down and you're like, man.
And you're fangirling.
I honestly like it. I think people should get into it if you like the bloody, you know, fighting for your life type of, you know, fights. Then you can, but
I think Rogan says it best. He's like, mixed martial arts is like high stakes problem solving with dire consequences.
Yeah.
And it's the whole reason I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Because you put a foot wrong and it could cost you life. Like, legitimately.
It could cost you your life, and you might not die, but your life is altered.
Changes, correct.
Majorly.
Correct.
And I think that's what gives the people the adrenaline, but I think also the fans and especially the spectators, they're quite spoiled because when it becomes a quite civilized fight, people are like, boo, I want to see blood, I want to see a broken neck. You know, you're like, you baboons. Like, calm down. We need something civilized once in a while.
Here to watch a fight, man. You know what I mean? I'm watching like 2 guys go to war with each other.
And also, you were watching it before it became more civilized, right?
Yeah.
Like, and even like the history. I remember you telling me the history of it was like to the death, really, or like close to.
It was brutal. Back in the Pride days and stuff, they used to do like soccer kicks. They would literally like full run up and punt, like kick him in the head. I'm not even joking.
Sorry. I'm laughing out of shock.
Yeah, I'm not joking. Like, I'll see if I can find you something. Like, this will blow your mind. I'm not even joking. Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Let's see if I can find it.
So, but were they laying on the floor, like on the ground, or?
You will see in a second. Let's see if I find this. Legit. Check this out. Just click that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Let's see. It's 3 minutes, but where is it?
You're scaring me.
So he's gonna
Oh, it
take
was even
down.
way more like
Look,
it wasn't-
Look.
Oh!
So kicks the head.
and the ref is not doing anything.
No, that's legal.
Oh! Oh, they okay.
'Cause
Yo,
he was done.
that guy's done.
He's
that
done
guy,
at
the
that
guy
point, yeah.
mentally is gone, bro.
That was a soccer kick to the head. Watch it. Watch the repeat on this. They'll replay it for sure. Look at him. Caught him in the face, busted his nose straight up. This was in
And he was-
2004.
but-
I was watching this back then.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's not okay. So now I can see how they've made it very like entertainment, like ooh,
Yeah.
slow
This
motion.
was Japan. Like this was
Yeah.
proper Japanese brutal fighting. Like this. So I used to train with Sam Greco when I was training out natural muscle in Mooney Ponds. Here we go. What is this? High kick, right? Follows up with a left, gets him down. Bang. Wait for it. He tried to trip him up because he went for the kick. Down. Bang. Kick to the head. Done. You're over. Over.
But that was the kick he gave him was a free kick.
Legit.
It's what you would give a free
Legit.
kick.
Legit. He wasn't playing games.
So then, what would motivate someone to get into MMA? Why would someone want to do that to themselves?
It's the ultimate test of, you know, can you overcome? Because like people lift weights because they want to find out what their body can do, what they can handle. You know, can they push past the pain barrier? You learn to love the pain. Mixed martial arts is a different level of, you know, like it's a different beast again, because now not only are you testing yourself against your own self, but you're testing yourself against another individual, another man, another woman, you know, and like I said, like the consequences can be brutal. Can be absolutely brutal.
There's something like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a 10 out of 10, but I do like my face. So like there's certain things that I'm going to keep. Because the way, I mean, I respect anyone who does it. And then my really good friend, she's like my big sis. She was training Muay Thai, but she literally cracked her foot.
Yep.
And she was on a boot for a couple of months.
Correct.
And that was just her first couple of months in.
Yep.
And it was like, and she was just doing a kick, just a typical kick, and then she just landed on her foot. Is a wrap.
Yep.
Catch you later, right? So you haven't even really embraced the skill of it,
Correct.
let alone actually fighting and competing, right, to that level. That's mad. So respect to that. But hey, this has been an interesting podcast. I've loved it. I know we've touched on a lot of things briefly. This is definitely a conversation that as we move forward, there'll be part 2, 3, 4, and 5, even just as progressing, not as progressives, but as progressing forward in our lives and what we get up to. Like, yeah, it's been amazing having you over.
Thank
It's
you.
been a great it's like a catch up.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And I think that's
Except
why
it's recorded.
it's recorded. It's like, oh. And yeah, but thank you so much for taking time out of your day to actually come
worries.
over. I know this is fully free and just for the cause, but I respect what you stand for and like how strongly you stand for things.
Thank you.
We could have definitely gone more into depth with a lot of things, but again, I think it calls for another invitation. I think that's why it gets more exciting.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, thank you. Is there a way that you want people to reach you, or do you want like to social wise, or is it something where you're like, leave me alone, you fucking bots.
Yeah, sure. So you can get me on all forms of social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
It'll be all on the screen
LinkedIn
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just Anthony Cursio. I'm the only Anthony Cursio you'll probably come across on all of them, which is great. But yeah, feel free. I tell people all the time, even when I was running on the campaign, I'm not a politician. I will actually answer your questions. And people will respond to that really well because they get ignored by politicians, and even the trolls who come for me, I respond back to. Like at the end of the day, they're people too. I may not like them, but they are also people, and I respect that.
Yeah, in someone's basement.
Yeah, well.
But they are people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you.
No,
and
thank you.
Always welcome. Yay.
Appreciate it. Thank you with the good hair, ladies and gentlemen.
I know, today, right? All right.